14. You should see the link for our Nearpod today. Yeah, I know. I'm going to adjust that. I'm trying to wait till the kids on the computer get on here, and then we can adjust it for everybody. All right. Thanks for letting me know. Excuse me. World War I. Yeah. This is the class that has the most people of Zoom, many of my classes. All right, good morning, all of you on Zoom. We're gonna get going here in a minute, just trying to make sure everyone's on the same page. So gonna go ahead and share the screen here. And you should be viewing just the Canvas homepage. So first off, if everybody could kind of get their eyes up here on the board, just so I can show you what happened yesterday, so that you can understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So if you go to modules and go to week number 14, yesterday when I had this up, this quiz was a quiz that I had made like a couple years ago that was named quiz number 13 or quiz 13 or something like that. So I got confused. I changed it, forgot to press save, and blah, blah. But it was about 1 o'clock, I think, by the time I finally got it right, or 12:30. So if you haven't taken this quiz yet, okay, it is in the in this module for week 14, and it's in the 412. Okay. It also has the intro for this week, which is a little bit longer as well. So I'm going to give you, I'll probably try to grade those tomorrow. So if you didn't get that done, take the next 24 hours to get those in so that I can get them in the computer, and you don't forget all the information because it's from previous, it's like the last 2 weeks. Okay. For today, if you go to the 413 page, so you're going to see a link for each period's Nearpod. You're also going to see a student pace Nearpod link if you're absent, or if you need to go back and review or whatnot. And then the correct quiz is up there again. And then the intro that's due Thursday. Okay, everybody with me on that? Can I get a thumbs up in the class? Make sure everyone is just here. Kyla, are you awake? Luke, the person behind you, could you tap desk? You all right? All right, so I got a question. That's great. What if we took the 18-point quiz yesterday? Do you get credit? No, I'm sorry, Wesley. That I don't even know what was on that quiz. Honestly, I had a couple people message me saying that they had complete notes and didn't even know what it was. So that's why I'm giving an extension. Just try to get this quiz 13 done. Sorry about that. All right. Let's go ahead and launch Nearpod and see if I can get the correct one. So your class code, if I remember right. Nope. It's not what I want to do. I want to go back to one that was already started. So, okay, well, that's what happened was I redid, I changed the Nearpod this morning. And so we have to put a new code in there. So I'm going to copy the link for everybody. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat box. If you're in the room here, if you can go to join.nearpod.com and go ahead and put in CS8HB in the chat. This is the correct link. And I'm gonna go ahead and edit this. Put the correct one in here. Forgot that if I change it, that's what happens. All right. I'll go back here for. Oh, that's not what I want. Those of you in the room, CS8HB. All right. Pretty easy starter today. First off, just want to say, hope everyone had a great weekend. The rain was pretty annoying, but at least you made up for it with a nice day yesterday. Hope you got outside and did something. My question for you as we start here is, name one thing you did for yourself this weekend. Jordan, happy belated birthday, 15. Nice. Sleeping, played some games, cleaned my room, relaxed. Gonna go ahead and wait to see. As I'm gonna take attendance here, make sure you put in an answer. And let me make sure I get the correct online attendance so I don't mess this thing up. B. 30. All right, got 80%. So a couple people left here to put in here. I got the flip for my kick flips down and then clean my room. Anybody want to share who that one is? Kick flips? You can do those for real? Nice. I dabbled in that as a kid and I fell and hurt myself many times. Went shopping in Chicago. That's fun. Played The Sims, baseball. All right, great. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on here. So, actually, before we move on, let me make sure I show you some of the stuff that I made for you for this class. So, if you look up here, I'm gonna go back to module screen real quick. I gotta save this. Thank you for reminding me. If you go back to our modules for this week, you're gonna see that I put a note sheet. Does everybody see this right here? So this is exactly what I'm going to be going over right here. So if you want to do well on the quiz, like when I say do well, I mean get a 10 out of 10 in about 5 minutes. Just take notes on this note sheet. So download this. And as I go through the slides on Pear Deck, all you need to do is jot down on your computer notes. And that is there for you. Okay. There's probably a pretty good chance that by Wednesday or so, I'll offer anybody who took notes and has an updated note sheet can turn it in for extra credit. What's going on? I'm sorry. Canvas? Are you putting in the? Oh, but Canvas won't let you in? Are you putting the correct password in? Did it work? Good, good. Okay, like I said, this keep you on board, and then like for pictures and stuff like that, you don't need to waste time writing anything down and keep the important stuff here. Okay, good with that, folks. Like I said, last week I took these for extra credit for a couple classes. If you want to do that opportunity and you take good notes, throw them back to me. I'll throw you 5 points. Okay. By the end of the week. All right. So, Diamond is here. It's good. Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get moving here on this Nearpod. So, here is the link again. If you just joined to get into the Nearpod. All right, so we're talking about World War One. We kind of had a preview last week. The war to end all wars, also known as the Great War. Okay, why did they call it the war to end all wars? Anybody know? Yeah, Ethan? Because of how destructive and deadly it was. Pretty good answer. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about kind of the road to war here. So how this whole thing got started. And so when we do that, we look at four main causes. Now, you already did this last Thursday, but I'm going to go ahead and just give you a little bit of updates, kind of facts on this. Ethan, Ian, if you could put the cell phone away, I would appreciate it. Okay, and if you have headphones in, we can take them out now just to be respectful to everybody in the room. I appreciate it. All right, so between 1890 and 1914, the European countries that were colonizing and imperializing the rest of the world doubled the size of their militaries. Okay, is that a lot? Yes. Then to form alliances to have protection in the event that they went to war, Austria, Germany, and Italy formed what was called the Triple Alliance. Okay, this is one that you want to jot down. I'm going to show you this on a map in a second. But the Triple Alliance equals Austria-Hungary, that's the Habsburgs, Germany, that was Otto von Bismarck, Kaiser Wilhelm, and then Italy, which newly unified. Okay, so the three of them kind of sandwiched in the middle of Europe, made a defensive alliance system with each other. England, France, and Russia then came back and said, well, we're going to protect ourselves in what's called the Triple Entente. Entente is a French word meaning union. So the three, England, France, and Russia, became a union against the other main alliance, which was Austria, Germany, and Italy. You see why they did that? Basically, it created sides and it made it more obvious that war was going to happen. Okay, imperialism, pretty basic at this point. I think you understand that most of the world was carved up, and so this was causing tensions because there wasn't anywhere else to take over or spread their blessings. Never mind. Sorry. Sarcasm, my bad. All right, nationalism then. This thing called the Ottoman Empire, which we haven't talked a lot about, which took over Constantinople, led to the Serbs. These are people from Serbia to want to have their own country and not be part of Austria-Hungary anymore. Russia, because they have always throughout history called themselves the father or the homeland of the Slavs, the Slavic people, the Serbs, said that, oh yeah, that's a good idea. They should be independent. And Russia was just doing it because they wanted to control that land to get closer to Europe. So Austria-Hungary or Austria said no. And so that's where we're going to get the spark. Okay. So MAIN, you need to be able to explain those four causes if you want to. This will be one of your open-ended questions on your final exam. Just explain how the four causes of World War One, or explain the four main causes of World War One. Okay. All right. So, which of these main causes of World War One do you think was the most significant to the start of the war, and why? There is no right answer here. No right answer here or wrong answer. It's just your opinion. Okay. Got a minute and a half. Go ahead and think through these and think which one you think was most influential. I think you could argue for all of them. How are you? Yeah, Chris not here, huh? Who sits there? No. All right, we got about a couple seconds left here. Let's see what people said. We got politics. I don't think that was one of the main. That would probably lead disagreements. Is alliances, because they made it where if one country fought, then would turn to multiple countries fighting. That's the web of alliances. That's a lot of answers, I think, throughout history. Like historians will say that one. Imperialism. Good. That was a good response there. If you're looking up at the screen, alliances, imperialism, alliances, nationalism, alliances. Two no answers. A few militarism too. So obviously, I wanted to do this just so everybody saw that they're all important. Does that make sense? They kind of play together. All right. So take a look up at the screen. This is going to be a quiz question on Monday of next week. It's pretty simple. You see how Germany, Austria, and Italy are in red, on how they're in the central part of Europe. And then you see Russia, France, and Britain are in gray, and they're kind of just looks like they're sandwiching in the Triple Alliance. So the Triple Alliance is the red, and the gray is the Triple Entente. It would be a lot easier if I had a piece of paper and you could just write it on there, label it, like back in the day, but you can't. So again, maybe jot down some of these key reminders for you to help you picture what's going on. So I've got a quote here, and I had a microphone in here on Friday, and then somebody stole it from me. I think I'll go steal it back after this passing period. But this is a quote from Frederick Passy in the year 1895. So 20 years before the outbreak of World War I. I want somebody to read this as loud as they can for me. Can I get one volunteer to yell and read it? No? Christopher? All right. You got a computer right here. Bring it to him.
The entire able-bodied population is preparing to massacre one another. Though no one, it is true, wants to attack, and everybody protests his love of peace and determination to maintain it. Yet the whole world feels that it only requires some unforeseen incident and some unpreventable accident for the spark to fall in a flash and blow Europe sky high.
All right. So the entire able-bodied population is preparing to massacre one another. Is that good? And all it's going to take is what? One spark. And what happens to the powder keg? Boom. All right. So what do you think Mr. Passy is predicting in his quotes? I don't think it's too difficult to answer. Go ahead and put your answer in the box, please. See if you understood that. The war to be started by any little thing. I think he's predicting war, World War I, war. One country starts to fight another, whole alliance, everything will happen. Yes, I think most of you got the answer right. Correct. And he's doing that, remember, 20 years before the whole thing starts. Okay. A few of you aren't participating. Let's get in here. So take a look at the map here then. This is what most teachers will not show you because this is stuff that I've had to find through the years. So take a look. This is kind of a modern day political map, meaning like how the countries are today. But this is why the World War I started. And it really started in this area called the Balkan Peninsula, which is just north of Greece and to the right, or we're going to call the east of Italy. So when you look at this map, you see how the pink are called Serbians, and they're all over the place, kind of mixed up. Then the green are predominant Muslims that were left over from the Ottoman Empire. And then the white areas mean there's no majority. The yellow then are what are called Croats, or people that are Croatian. Okay? And so you have a mix of all of these kind of people in this one territory called Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in the late 1800s, Austria-Hungary took control of this when the Ottoman Empire, which is down here, it's called Turkey, kind of fell off and was losing ground in Europe. And Serbia, which was its own independent province or country, wanted Bosnia and Herzegovina because a lot of Serbians lived there. See that? Look on the maps. But the thing is there's no majority. You have Muslims, you have Christians, and to make it even more complicated, you have Catholics and Protestants. If you remember right, the Catholics and the Protestants don't really like each other either. And you throw in Muslims. So you have different ethnic groups, different nationalities, all in the same stinking area. You think that's going to cause a problem? Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Okay. Now, take a look at it right here. This is the Balkans in 1911. And you can see how green little Serbia in the middle is sandwiched between the Ottoman Empire and Austria-Hungary. And Bosnia and Herzegovina is where they're going to target their sights on. They want to control that. All right, so insert Nravdi Kronov. Okay, translated. I know, I just like to say the word. Translated, it is called the Black Hand. And this was a terrorist group that was literally meant to use assassination to try to get rid of Austria in Bosnia. Yeah. I don't, but I'm sure somebody does. Somebody in the room have a charger on them? Can you grab that? So this secret society in Serbia was exactly that. They were being paid by the government of Serbia, or like the what do you want to call them, the military, but like they didn't tell everybody, so it was illegal for sure. And they wanted to try to kill someone so that Austria-Hungary would not take over Bosnia and Herzegovina anymore. Now, Franz Ferdinand, who was the emperor of Austria-Hungary, said, okay, I will give you Slavs what's called a triple monarchy, meaning it would be the Austria-Hungarian Slavic Empire. He even said he would allow them to do that. But Bosnia and Herzegovina feared that this thing called Yugoslavia or United Slavia would never occur. So some of you may have heard of Yugoslavia. It was a country all the way up until the fall of the Berlin Wall and the Soviet Union in 1990. So the Archduke, that is the second in line to the next person to be the Emperor of Austria-Hungary, gets invited to go to Sarajevo, which is the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, for a celebration of what's called war maneuvers, where they're going to have like their war guys march, their like troops march down the street, and then he's going to give a speech at the Capitol building. He's an idiot. Okay, the embassy in Bosnia and Herzegovina warned Austria and their like Secret Service office 7 times that he was probably going to get killed if he went there. But the Archduke, Franz Ferdinand, and his dad was Franz Josef. He's Franz Ferdinand. His dad didn't like his wife. He thought she was ugly and she was of lower German nobility. Her name was Sophie. And so he did not allow him to bring his wife to Vienna, the capital, for any kind of royal function. He thought, again, she was inferior for someone as important as him. So he thought this was an opportunity to bring his wife on like a little trip where they got to show off and act like they were fancy, right? So despite the fact that he was told 7 times he's going to die, he goes on this trip to go down and watch these military maneuvers and give a speech. Well, common sense here. The unforeseen incident, the spark, okay, is the assassination of the Archduke on June 28th, 1914 by, again, this secret terrorist group known as the Black Hand, who are a bunch of 20-year-olds. That's not that much older than you. Take a look at his mugshot. Okay. The way that he killed him was, let's just say, irony. Okay. There was a military parade along the main street. 2 different people threw homemade hand grenades at the Archduke's car. Archduke swats the hand grenade, it bounces and it hits the limousine behind him, and it causes 3 of his Secret Service agents or like policemen to get put into the hospital. So instead of stopping the thing altogether and going home, he continues on the parade route. These guys who tried to throw the homemade hand grenades jump into the river and take cyanide pills. They don't die. So they figure out who this was, right? Because the cyanide pills were old. Then he gives his speech, and then he was supposed to go back to the like the train station and leave. But instead of doing that, he tells his driver that he wants to go to the hospital to see the wounded officers. They make a wrong turn down a one-way street. So you can see in the picture right here, they are in an open-air limousine and they are doing a U-turn. And Gavrilo Princeps, who was one of the young men that was staying in the parade that wanted to try to kill the Archduke, is eating a sandwich at a deli. Puts a sandwich down, happens to see them, walks straight up with a little revolver and shoots both of them. Dead spot on, 5 feet away from them. Both Sophia and the Archduke died. And that is, again, what's going to cause what we would say be the start of World War I. Now, in your note sheet, the road to war is going to start here, okay? So, what happens then? Austria-Hungary says to Serbia, you did this. We know you did this. We've got proof. And so they sent what's called the July ultimatum. In the meantime, when they sent this list of 10 demands, they basically Franz Josef, who's the emperor, is related to Kaiser Wilhelm. They're cousins. And so Kaiser Wilhelm II, this wasn't the good one, this is the bad one. And he says, hey, bud, will you back us up like you said you would if we go to war with Serbia? Because Russia's probably going to get involved. Well, Germany wrote what I call the blank check theory. It's not on the screen here because I didn't want to put a ton of notes on here. But does anybody know what a blank check theory is? Xavier, if you are doing like a yard project and someone gives you a blank check, how much do you write in it? As much as you want, right? I mean, maybe you write like $2 million. Now, you probably are fair and you just write for the work you did. But yeah, that's the blank check theory, meaning Germany said we will unconditionally support you and no matter what decision you make with our entire army. Did Germany have a big army? They had the second biggest army in the world next to the British. Okay. So when they give them the blank check, Austria says, all right, well, you're only going to do 9 of the 10 things we want, Serbia. We're going to invade you. And so Austria declared war on Serbia on July 28th. And when they did that, Russia had already immediately mobilized its army. Mobilize is a vocab word you want to remember. This is also on the quiz. So mobilization means to get your troops ready to fight. Okay. So Russia moved all of their troops to the border of Austria and Germany before the war was declared, just to basically say, hey, we're ready for this thing. So then they call this the Guns of August, because Germany, okay, not involved in this thing yet, and this is important for next week. Germany declares war on Russia on August 1st. Germany declared war on France on August 3rd. Why would they declare war on both sides? What's that? Okay, France and Russia are allies, so they think that they can win it a little bit quicker, right? Then, because Germany had declared war on Belgium and on Great Britain, Great Britain had to declare war on Germany. So you see how the dominoes fell within about 7 days of each other? In 7 days, you go from Austria-Hungary declaring war on Little Serbia to the entire Europe and all of their colonies in World War I now. All right, so here's my question for you. This is a 2-minuter. You might need to use like 20 to 30 words to explain this. How did the killing of the second in line to the Austrian throne, Franz Ferdinand, cause World War I? All right, I'm going to open this up. Let me see what you think. So, how did the killing of Franz Ferdinand cause World War I? What do you think? All right, so how did the killing of the second in line to the Austrian throne cause World War I? Yeah, they killed a very important person. Yeah. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand led to World War I by making Austria-Hungary declare war on Serbia, which led to Germany declaring war on France and Russia and Great Britain declaring war on Germany. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share that answer. Anybody in the room want to take credit for that? No? Okay. This is basically how it went down. Now, there's obviously a few more little details in there and whatnot, but this would be like killing the vice president, essentially, of the United States. If somebody did that, would the United States declare war on that group? Most likely. Timmy, stay with me here. All right, so Europe at the start of World War I looks like this then. What changes? What changed from that original alliance system that I showed you to this right here? Anybody in the room point out who switched sides and went different and who joined? Ian. What's that? Sorry. I'm going to give you a little hint if you're looking at the screen. Look at this one right here. What am I circling? Italy. So this green here, Italy. Italy switched sides to fight with France and Great Britain because France and Great Britain said, hey, don't you want to take more land from Austria? And so they said, yeah, then we do. So they switched sides right when the war broke out. Italy joined on the side of France and Great Britain. But Germany had a relationship with the Ottoman Empire because Germany had wanted to build a railroad from the oil fields down here closer to what is like modern day Israel and Saudi Arabia all the way to Berlin so that they could have oil. And so the Ottoman Empire joins on the side of Germany and Austria. And so you can see again, oh, it still looks like they're getting sandwiched in the middle, right? But Serbia, Romania, Greece, for what they're worth, they don't fight a lot, but they join on the side of the what's called the Allied powers. So I want you to look at this because you'll hear this word used interchangeably. The Allied powers are the United States ends up joining on that side. That's the green. And the Central powers are the ones that are in the orange. Okay. So you see the difference between the two. All right. So war. This was how the Germans had planned for it to go down. They thought it was going to be perfect. It wasn't. So take a look at the screen, please. Let me try to explain this as best I can. This one is not easy. So I'm going to need everybody's attention. And those of you on Zoom, I'm going to try to yell out here into the computer, see if we can get it. So this is called the von Schlieffen plan. Okay. Guaranteed on your quiz on Monday of next week. Germany decided to declare war on Russia and France in 2 days because they had been planning since 1905 to go on a two-front war, meaning they could fight in France and fight in Russia. And here's what they were going to do. They had high-speed railroads built all the way to the German border. They figured that they could move 1 million troops to the German border, and then they could invade neutral Belgium. Okay, Belgium had just become a country. Remember King Leopold? They weren't very strong at all. And so he was going to invade neutral Belgium and then sweep around and then take Paris. So instead of just going straight across where Alsace and Lorraine are, where they stole that area, remember, in the Franco-Prussian War last week, they're going to go around. There's two things they didn't take into account. One, Belgium put all of their money for their defense into these weird concrete fortifications along their border. And it just slowed down the Germans just enough that the French were able to basically get their army set right outside Paris. Secondly, the Germans didn't realize that Russia would be able to get their troops to the border of Russia and Germany, or Prussia and Germany. They were kind of sandwiched next to each other. And so the Russians, and they're fighting with, we haven't talked too much about Russia. They're a bunch of peasant soldiers. They are raiding these Prussian generals' homes. And they're drinking their wine, their champagne, they're raping their women, they're eating their cows, they're going through and drinking their champagne and their fancy alcohol, and they're getting all these clothes that they've never seen before. And they are just ravaging this really, really, really old, aristocratic, fancy, like think Meridian Kessler, like you drive down Meridian, you know those houses. They're just feasting on this, these poor Russian soldiers, while the German army gets stalled here because they're also trying to take 1 million troops through the forest. Okay, with big guns and being carried by horses. It's not that easy. And so they get stopped 28 miles from Paris in the summer of 1914. Okay, 28 miles. They don't. That's how close they are to destroying France. You take Paris, you take the heart of the people of France. It's obvious. That stalls. The Germans freak out and they send 500,000 soldiers across the country to go make sure that the Russians are stopped. Because they had thought that it would take the Russians 1.5 to 2 years to get into the war. They miscalculated their decision. Now, the Russians were a joke. They fought horribly, but at the beginning, they caused this plan, which had been in place for 10 years before the war started, to fail. So the von Schlieffen plan fails, and it creates what we call a stalemate. Okay, make sure you have stalemate in your notes. Can anybody tell me what a stalemate is? Luke. A what? A tie. A stalemate. Stalemate is a tie. It's what happens when nobody can move one way or the other. That's why it's stale. And so this line that you see on the board, okay, or in person or in the computer, the red arrows where they stop, they literally are in trenches there for the next 5 years. It really doesn't move more than 20 miles in 5 years, and over 20 million people die in that area in trenches. Isn't that crazy? You're talking about these people that called themselves the spreaders of the blessings of civilization and were so smart and blah, blah. Are they really? No. No. So make sure you have stalemate down. And here's what I want you to try to answer. This is going to be our last question for the day. What is a stalemate in quotations, and how did it start in World War I? Go ahead. Let's see what we can get. All right, we got about 15 seconds left here. All right. A stalemate on both sides of something are stuck and are not able to win. It's started by Germany not being able to conquer France. Good answer. No one can win. By von Schlieffen plan failing. Good. All right, still no answers in the middle there. The von plan. So if the von Schlieffen plan works, Germany takes France out, and then they focus on Russia, and the German Empire becomes huge. Do you think that could have happened? Yeah. It was. They were literally a stone, not a stone, but a fairly heavy missile launcher away from taking Paris and occupying Paris, and France would have surrendered. I know the only reason I'm saying this is I want you to turn your brains on, because guess what happens in World War II, Jordan? Germans do the exact same thing. And guess what happens? They win. They do take it. And then it causes another massive world war and a lot of other disgusting atrocities. Okay. All right. So this is a political cartoon. I wanted to show you what's funny about this. This is Germany with their big sausages hanging out. And this has it says Belgium on it. And you see old Germany, and what does Belgium look like? A child. And they're trying to say, no, don't go through here. But it's like, are you really going to stop a guy with a big stick? No. All right. So this is what I was talking about, the European theater. This is where Russia attacked Tannenberg. So you might see that on the map. We'll talk into this tomorrow with trench warfare, but this is what the result is. This is the last thing on your note sheet. 35,000 miles of trenches. Because of the amount of support trenches and different trenches. Basically, all of France on the eastern side gets dug up into holes and completely destroys the entire farmland, countryside, you name it. Okay, I'm going to be showing you guys a couple videos tomorrow. So that is the end of class here, because we've got to get here and wash the desk. Hope everybody has a great day. Make sure you take that quiz and work on your intro at home, okay? Thank you. Hey, everybody in the room,